Well, hello everybody. I don't know what it's like in your part of the world, but it's raining and horrible here. So just got in late night. Hope a lot happening. So sort of hopefully you could hear me well. I'm not sure if you can. Forgot my headphones inside. My other headphones doesn't have that speaker on it. So yeah, hopefully you're all doing well. I feel like I'm ready for bed. Anyhow, so I guess if you're in the UK, you should have maybe by now you would have put your covers on your pond. Mine is on fully now. I decided yesterday to go the full way and put it up. I've got some lights going on. Once the lights go on next week, I'll have a video ready for that as well. So I'll get a video launched on the new LED lights, which has the enough of the kelvins in it to continue with the make sure that the fish color and the terry is not damaged in the winter. So the lights are the new lights that are out. So yeah, let me see if we've got any questions or anything out there. Shouldn't be too late tonight because I'm tired and I've got a few things to do tonight. So there you go. Yes, well, I've been filming, but I'm sort of waiting for the lights to get fitted. So once the lights get fitted, then I'll put the video on. And my electrician has to fit the lights because it needs wire connection and boxes and things like that. So, and then I rather him climb in the pond and stand balancing over the water. So, yeah, I don't fit nothing. The only thing I do is I put food in the feeder and do the pumps and the pipe work, but stuff like that. So, yeah. So just Alex Pons. Oh, it's Matthew. I thought you were eating chili soup. Let me see here. Who this is? Somebody was asking, does your koi hobby go into standby over winter? No, full standby as far as I stand by and watch the pond from while freezing cold. But no, it doesn't go into standby mode. In fact, they're being fed right now 800 grams a day, so coming up to a kilo of food a day. So I'm topping up the feeder, and they're in their growing mode. So that will go all the way till the first week of November, second week of November, and then I'll begin to cool the temperature down. So yeah, the fish still get fully looked after. I wouldn't let the temperature drop ridiculously cold over winter. I keep them a little bit warm, hence the covers are on there. And I've done that since going to Japan. Most of the Japanese breeders, with their decent fish, it's a farm they're running, but with their decent fish, they tend to hold them at 21 Celsius over the winter. So that's the way they sort of do that in Japan. So I've sort of took the leaf out of their book, and on most of the breeders I've been to, they're better koi. They tend to keep them warm. Especially customers' kois as well. So let me see, there's a question here. Yeah, I would sort of hold around 22 degrees because of my fish are mainly Sansai and above. So generally over winter I'll hold 21, 22 degrees. The breeders hold them at 21 if they're Sansai and above. I think if they're Nisai or if they're growing Tosai, it'll be a lot higher. It'll be 23, 24. But with most of my fish that are in there, I want to sort of hold them at 21, 22 degrees really over winter time and feed them a lot. When I say a lot, I'm probably going to stop at now 800, 900 grams a day because they're looking good for the body shape and the water is still holding at 135 TDS. If I calibrate it, it'll probably be a little bit less. So around 130 TDS I'm holding that water in that way. So the arrow will come on about 9 o'clock, and yeah, still reusing the recycle arrow, still the same membranes that Andy Finch hooked up back in July. Now we come in October and Thursday and still the same membrane. So haven't managed to wreck them. When I say me, I mean I did accidentally put in some treatment and forgot the arrow was on, and then I quickly legged it over, switched it off, and then so I stopped it before it actually got to the membranes. Partially it got in, but it hasn't really caused any issue because I'm still getting the same amount of good water to waste, the pressure, to all those things. So yeah, so if you've got any questions, let me know before I do a few tests here and then get ready to go inside. A bit cold there. So what temperatures do you hold on during the winter months? Like I said earlier, 21, 22 Celsius, I'd hold them during the winter months till November, and then after November, the coldest I would go down to is 16 Celsius, or probably 18 Celsius this year, because I got plecos in there, and if I go down any colder, the plecos don't like it. Plus I like holding at 16, 18 Celsius, around that, and keep feeding the fish probably like a winter JPD food or some sort of wheat germ, or last year I fed sake hikari all season food as well, and kept the fish in really good condition, really good condition. So would you add fish over winter, bearing in mind your water temperature would be pretty good at all? Yeah, when I pick up my fish, any new fish, it tends to be February, March, so I guess it is winter, but it'll be the next year, so it'll be February, March before any new fish comes in here now. That's about it. There's no more new fish coming in this pond. I've got fish from Japan due to come in to the country, and then after quarantine, they're probably coming in the country, I imagine, around December is normally the time to come in. Quarantine will be 2 months or so for the fish, so yeah, around February before the fish comes into this pond. So yeah, there'll be no new fish coming in really. So Matthew, how was the chili soup? Sounds interesting. If I come over, you need to make that. Okay, let me see. Any more questions? There's not many on tonight, and I wouldn't expect there would be many because I sort of put the thing up late, didn't get on late, had a long day, and yeah, so I put the notice up for doing live pretty late, so I didn't expect many people to catch it in time. What heat source do you have? Andrew, I'm using a boiler with heat coils, so that's my heat source. So it's heat via boiler with heat coils in the drum itself. So that's what I use, and I use that on a thermostat, which is wrong. So I have 2 calibrations for the heating, so I know exactly which is the right one in that way. So okay, all the questions are coming in now. You made tomato soup for the freezer, man. Are you preparing for the apocalypse? During the growing season, would you consider feeding the koi through the night? No. It's a good question, and I'll come back to it. Let me see. What is this called with importing koi if you lose them during quarantine or transport? Liability. If you import a koi and you lose it, your fault, no problem, unless it arrives dead. But generally, it's up to the breeder, and yeah, it's a big risk in that way. So yeah, if you've never done it and you're not willing to lose a fish or 2 or something like that, then don't do it. Stick to your dealers really. Let them take the punch, not you. But I've been fine doing it. So somebody asked me, what is this during the, you can, yes, I don't feed the koi during the night at all. Yeah, the fish would be fed from I think 7 a.m. And they will finish at 8 p.m. and I don't feed them through the night. They get a rest. I know somebody who did that and they end up killing their fish. So, but I don't know if that was the reason. But I don't feed them through the night. I know from South Africa, going through the summer current data, need to know when is the best time to expand your pond size. The best time to expand your pond size, I would guess, for temperature-wise, would be summer. Because if you really want to get into your growing season, you want to do all sort of work before your growing season. So all the modifications I added to this pond via the light that's going in, LED lights, that's not a real big modification. That's just the electrician coming to do that. I do it off back end or beginning of the way away from the growing season, so I don't interrupt the fish. Once I'm growing in them, the net don't go in, the fish is not disrupted in any way. So the growing season is then tend just to be a season to grow them. So I that's how I look after them in that way. What filter is a good, as good as a drum filter but not expensive? I don't know. There's no filter that's not a drum filter that's going to be as good as a drum filter. You might have heard my drum clean itself. The thing about a drum filter, it cleans itself every 20 minutes. So you can get whatever filter you want, a vortex. I don't know why you'd want a vortex, but you can get a vortex, you can get a Nexus. Nexus are fine, but it's how often you're going to clean them. I remember all that fish waste sits in that water, and like a tea bag, it's sort of leaching out whatever it can in the water until it's cleaned and flushed. And most people with a Nexus will clean it every couple of days and stuff like that. So I tend to not really deal with that, but I know Nexuses are great for, like, if you want to do a quarantine, and I know a lot of people have ponds on Nexuses, but it's according to how often you clean them as well, you know. So that's my sort of thing here. Okay, here's another question. Let me see. I'm reading fast here. Look filter. So I would say if you can't afford a drum, maybe a Nexus, and get a Draco. I think Draco does like a thing that you could attach to it, which would probably be a good option. Or I think the Nexus themselves do a automatic clean, if you can do that. But I'd prefer go to a drum anyways. Does the shower return from the bottom or the sides? Does the shower return from the bottom? What do you mean the bottom? The where? My showers return from the via spigot. So it's about a foot, 14 inches below the water, in that way. So yeah, fleece filter, wow. I've not heard about that thing for a long time. Yeah, that's the problem with it, is how often you're going to clean it. And then the thing I like about any drum that works is that whatever waste comes into the pond, and I'm sort of turning over the pond quite a lot at the moment, so whatever fish waste gets trapped in that drum screen, every 20 minutes it cleans and flushes it out. So within an hour, the pond, the drum is cleaned 3 times. So, and I'm feeding heavy, so whatever waste comes in there, it literally was being the pond for probably 20 minutes at the most, 25 minutes, and then it'll be out the pond. Whereas whatever else you have, a vortex or a whatever filter, it's how often it gets rid of the waste from the water. And to me, it needs to get rid of it as quick as it comes out. You don't want to be your fish sitting in the same filth that it comes out in. So I rather it removes it straight away, and that's the beauty. I was fortunate enough to buy one of the first drums that ever came out on the market. So in that way, that's I've had drums. I've had a Profi drum, I have a red label, but I've had drums since they came out. So I don't know what sort of time, maybe, I don't know the date, but I probably one of the few in the UK first to be able to have a drum and to run it, and it works really well. So yeah, I would say if you could get a drum, save up and get it. My preference is to get a drum you can get bits for. I have a red label and I love the red label, but any parts I need, I have to order it from Holland as well. So see whatever you can get. Okay, let's read some questions. Do you know about, and if yes, what do you think about super mini drum? Oh, I've never heard about that one. Sorry. Super mini drum. Sorry, young koi whiz. I haven't heard of that. Do you have problems with the motor or pump on the drum? No. Never had problems. Like I said, I had the first drum ever in the UK, and that worked faultless for donkey's years, and I've had this drum as well. And yeah, but it's mechanical, so I guess you can say eventually it will go wrong. But my first drum was on the pond for must be 8 years or 10 years, and I never had to change any bar cleaning the screen twice a year, which takes 10 minutes. I never had to do anything else with it. Once you have a drum, all this conversation wouldn't happen because you'd realize drum is where it needs to be at. I have a Draco. This is Stuart Hay. Maybe you're related to David Hay, the boxer. Stuart Hay. I have a Draco in a Nexus and it was highly recommended as upgrade to the new Nexus. So that's Stuart Hay. I've never used a Draco, so I can't recommend it, but he's recommending it, so he's your guy. I say that because I've heard, sorry, it's just disappeared. I say that because I've heard a Draco that they used to have problems with. Sorry, I don't know what you're trying to say. I know a lot of guys who had Dracos, and they said it worked fine, so I've not had a problem. Okay, Super Mini drum is the cheapest drum out there. It's $1,500 US. Well, you know, I guess you answer your own question. So you got to think, why is it super cheap, or why is it cheap, and why it doesn't have the markup and things like that. You know, there's a whole saying, you get what you pay for. So my drum wasn't cheap. In that way, I think these drums cost a lot of money, but I intend to keep it forever, as long as I'm in the pond and in this property. So let's just say it's 10 years and you work it out. You work out what it costs over 10 years, then you would see, you know. So I wouldn't really, you know, the thing is with a lot of koi guys that I notice is sometimes they would have stuff for a year and they will go on how great it is. Well, you've only had it for a year. And most guys don't want to know for a year. They want to know for somebody who's run something for 10 years or 15 years. And I've run drums for 15 years. So I would always recommend a drum. I recommend a Profi drum, the Brilliant. They're the rollers. When I say rollers, a Rolls Royce. I would highly recommend Profi drum. I would recommend the Red Label drum. Those are the ones I know. I can't recommend the others that I don't know, but they're really good. Do you have a proactive treat pond before? Do you proactively treat the pond before? Oh, here we go. Do you proactively treat the pond before winter? Not really. I only treat if it needs treating. I don't treat it because, well, winter is coming. The pond doesn't have anything other than what I put in it going in, so I wouldn't proactively treat anything unless it needs treating in that way. So I don't advocate treating because in case you get something. I know we have the saying prevention is better than cure, but that wasn't said for the koi world. That was said for the human race, as I think it was. Let's see. Somebody asked a question. When looking at buying reasonable, good quality tosai, when looking at buying reasonable, good quality tosai, showa kaku, do you think it's possible to get a good fish for 400 to 500 quid? Possibly, yeah. Whether it'll be female will be another thing. But you got to remember, if you buy a fish from a dealer that's, let's just say, 500 quid, he had to ship that fish, and that fish in a box would probably cost £175, according to how many fishes in a box. Then he's got to add his VAT on that. Then he's got to add his markup on that. Then you got to think, well, how much did that fish cost in the first place? So that fish probably cost 100 quid or 150 quid, and by the time it comes to the UK, and you add the taxes, and you add the import, and you add the quarantine, and you add the dealer's overhead, it's £400 to £500. You're not buying a £400 to £500 fish. You're buying a fish that in Japan would have cost you a lot less. And like I said, I've been to Japan and I know what it's like. But yes, to answer your question, it is possible, but to get a really decent one, it probably wouldn't be female. And if it is female, it'll compromise on quality as far as like kiwasashi, body shape is a big thing for me. When I'm looking at a koi, I have a sort of criteria go through in my mind, and the body shape is number one. The body's good, I'll jump on it. Skin, BSP, body skin pattern, and then pattern is the last thing. You tend to pay more money if it's a textbook pattern. You could get away with a lot of fish with a quirky pattern, but that's how is one of the risks you would take. Do you think 400 to 500 would buy you a good quality toast rest from Japan? Yes. So if I'm in Japan, I have bought fish in Japan that was less than that, 250 quid. Obviously, by the time I ship it here and I pay for the box and I pay for the quarantine, and then it probably fish actually cost me £700. You know, the other bits. But yeah, I've got decent fish in Japan for a lot less. But you got to get it here, and you got to quarantine it. That's the problem, is whether you're able to quarantine it and do all that thing. So, and it's not easy quarantining fish. And like I said, if your dealer brings over fish, he's taking all the hit of quarantine and VAT. If the fish dies, treatment, you walk in and you buy it. So, you know, in that way the dealer takes the hit, you know. What would you say would be the best set of trickle system that can pay just... What would you say the best set of trickle systems that I can buy that will just plug and play? Trickle system? What do you mean, like trickle in, trickle out? I've never bought one, just made one myself. Yeah, you just get water from your mains, if that's what you mean, via dechlorinator, dripping in the pond, and sort of like modify your skimmer line, put a snorkel end out of it and let it drip, let the overflow run into either a tank, or like mine runs into a tank, so I collect the water, or let it run to a drain if you got a drain close by. So trickle in, trickle out. You shouldn't need to buy a plug and play system. You could make one yourself quite easy in that way. And I say that, make it quite easy, because it is easy to make, and I'm useless at making anything. I can't even make a sandwich properly. Alright, let me see. Anybody else? Matthew, are you still there? Or are you going to eat your soup? Are you going to froze his soup? Frozen chili soup. Stuart, I don't live far from Draco, and I'm going to... Okay, or somebody's having a conversation. Okay, I'll leave you guys to talk about Draco. I'm not an expert in Draco. So hello from Indonesia. Hello Indonesia, hope you're well. Got some friends in Cambodia and Malaysia as well. From South Africa, yeah, I've answered that one. Hope you're doing well in South Africa. Good to hear from you. Yeah, so the Koi Young Whiz. Maybe you want to change that to the Young Koi Whiz, not the Koi Young Whiz. It sounds a bit crazy. Anyhow, yeah, you can make it yourself. So I can't connect to the tap water. Well, you're going to be difficult to trickle in if you can't get water in. You've got to figure out how to do that somehow. Or what you can do is plug it into your neighbor's tap and say, can you just plug it into your garden and just run it over? If you'd let you do it, that would be good. Do you cover over your pond for winter? Yes, it's covered now. I can't show you because it's pitch dark out there. If you're in the UK, if you're not in the UK, if you are in the UK, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not in the UK, it's pitch dark, sideways rain, and cold. So I can't show you, but it's covered like fish house style. So it's not covered that you can't. It's like big sheets all the way around. It's like and then it's sliding door at the front that you can slide open and still have access to the full fish as well. So yeah, so my pond is covered, and I have a thermometer that checks the temperature of the space within the polycarb place that I made for it. And during the daytime, and even now, that's holding on its own at 17 Celsius. So I mean, I know the pond's heated to 22, but it's if I had this open now, the breeze blowing across it, it'd be freezing. The boiler will be going off every minute. Now it's not going off. Somebody was asking about what... Oh yeah, what do I cover with? I cover with polycarbonate sheeting. I use 20 mil. I don't use 10 mil stuff. You don't use... It's insulation you want. So the cheaper stuff you use, the less insulation you're going to get. So I think it's either 20 mil or 25 mil. Mine you could walk on it. So I got the proper... When I say proper, I got the thick stuff. So that when it's on there, it's like solid. It holds some heat in there as well. It works like a greenhouse. I mean, Monday was a bit warm, and Leicester was about 20 Celsius. And in the fish house was 31 Celsius. So I had to open the door and let some of the heat out as well. So, oh, Matthew's alive. It's too wet for the ducks. What are you saying, man? Oh, it's too wet for the ducks in the UK at the moment. Yeah, it is. It is stupid wet. But I haven't covered over my pond. So yeah, a lot of guys don't believe in covering their pond because they think you're paying a lot of money for koi to look at and you cover it up for 5 months of the year. But with my system, you can still see the fish. Granted, you can't see it as best. You see it better with the covers open, but you can still see them. Um, when I slide, the front door is like massive. You could jump into it. It's like probably like a sliding door to your home, or a little bit smaller, but it's big enough to do that. And I've got a 6 foot window in front as well, so you can see the fish from any part of the house as well. So although it's covered, I'm still seeing full access. And then, like I said, there'll be a new video coming out. And thanks to all who subscribe to the channel. Please do more subscribe, more likes. Helps the algorithms. Matthew would know what that means. And that means we could do more channels in that way. So yeah, let me see. So yeah, the next thing is the LED lights are going to go up. I bought 2 sets. I could have probably get away with 1 set, but I bought 2, and I'm going to fit both lights, and I'm going to use them on the timer. There's a timer on my phone that I can have them come on, and they'll probably only run for 5-6 hours a day. It could be in LED, they're only 200 watts each, so I'll only run one at a time, just so that the fish don't lose any of its terry and stuff like that coming into the dark winter where there's hardly any sun about. In that way, my garden is south facing, so if the sun is about, it drops straight in the pond. And like I said, with a polycarbonate sheet, I've been out here before, and it's been probably like 6 degrees, 7 degrees, and in the polycarbonate sheet, it's up to like 25 Celsius. So once the sunlight gets in, it quickly heats up the pond, and naturally, it just keeps the pond temperatures high. So it works really well. Let me see, there's some questions here. Is there any plans for another Rasta competition next year? Possibly, maybe, we don't know. We have to see what Mike finds and whether people have money to buy fish. Alright, Chip, what's the best way to determine the amount of feeds per day, about the food for proper koi growing size? How to fix a koi's drop belly? Sounds like it needs spawning. Is it because your pond's heated? I don't know why people cover their ponds if they are not heated. Well, I could guess they cover their ponds if they're not heated because it stops the sudden change in it in that way, especially the wind. The wind makes a massive difference. You get the wind off the pond, it stops the heating, it stops the chilling of the water. But if koi would have dropped belly, it probably needs spawning. If it's beyond spawning, then I'm not sure what you can do. I know you could pay, there's some guys who would inject it and you could release the eggs, but unless you wanted to spend a couple of £100 on getting that in, you've got to make up your mind. I would go with the spawning route first in that way. What do you cover your pond? Why do you cover your pond? I've had koi for 40 years and never covered a pond. Well, you probably have more money than me to pay for the heating. That's probably why. Yeah, I don't have the money like you boys. Okay. No Rasta competition. We may do, but we got to figure out what Mike's plan is. I'm just doing a new pond with 1 meter double with showers, 4 tiers. How many up pipes do you recommend to make a protein skimmer you have? So the protein skimmer will only work if your pond the water from the shower is being returned underwater. So if it's been returned underwater, mine's about a foot. I don't know if you know what a foot is. I don't know what a foot is in centimeters. Is that about 30 centimeters underwater? And I return that on 4-inch pipe. So, and then you sort of use a strap-on boss, and I think I use 32 mil. Somebody said I use 50 mil. I don't use 50 mil. I use 32 mil pipe. Hello from France. Hello Pierre. How are you doing, man? Do you hoover your pond? No, I've never had to hoover my pond. I've got bottom drains, so the bottom drains get rid of everything, and the pump and the drum takes it all out. Have you ever thought about fitting solar panels? Yes, Lee, I have thought about it. And maybe I need to think a little bit more about it as well. I don't know, are they free now, Lee? Do you have to pay for solar panels, or will they come and do it free for you? Maybe that's something you boys could look and let me know. But yes, I do think I need to fit solar panels, even if it's a little smaller setup. But yeah, definitely. Chocolate breakfast. I know this is an annoying ask, but would it be possible for you to provide names of all your pond monitors and mechanisms? We call you automatic bicarbon systems. I can't really provide names because a lot of them I make myself, and they're sort of like my own sort of thing. Ah, yes. So 3.3 feet to a meter. Okay, so a meter is 100 centimeters. Is that right? So if I'm out of, yeah, so let's say 30 centimeters is where mine returns to in that way. Okay, yes, so you're doing spigot returns with 4-inch pipe, about 3-inch. Yes, you don't want to go 3-inch. See, the problem with going 3-inch, yes, spigot return 4-inch pipe and about 3-inch under the water line. That's a little bit too shallow for me because it sort of defeats the purpose of having the 3 inches literally like that much. Like I said, mine is about mine's about 30 centimeters. You know, if you look at my Facebook, you can see pictures of it. Oh, $6,000 for 4 kilowatts of us. Oh, that's not bad, Matthew. Is that current now? You can $6,000 and that's fitted and fully working. Anyhow, yes, I wouldn't go 3-inch below the water because you're going to get ripples and it's going to defeat. What I love about my pond is my pond is oxygen rich, not saturated, but rich. And it's like a glass because the water returns so low underneath that it gives it like a deep pool in a river effect. And I know somebody who built their system where the underwater return was just a couple of inches above the water. And in the end, they were using pipes within the return in the pond and pointing them downwards just to stop that effect, and they ended up with big elbows in the pond dropping the pipe down because they were hate seeing the ripples. So if you can and you haven't finished your design, I would go further down. 3 inches to me is a little bit too low. I would aim for 30 centimeters if at all possible to bring your returns in. And I've got 9 up pipes on mine. So that's how many up pipes I'm running on my system. Okay, what are you going to be feeding during this winter season? I am feeding Saki Hikari growth, both sinking and balance, and I'm also feeding a little bit of color food in there because once November comes, I'll feed some more color food. But it's Saki Hikari growth, probably 20%, 30% or so sinking, and the rest mainly floating growth, and then a bit of color food in the mix as well. Okay, somebody's asking about the solar panels. No, they're not free. My panels cost around $10,000 with 20 panels. Battery, my bills work out about 1,400 quid a month. 14 quid a month. Wow, that's cheap. But you're paying the $10,000. But I guess the $10,000 with 20 panels, Lee. And is that fitted and everything? So I guess that is cheap, you know, because if you take out a small loan and then you get the panels fitted. Do you need planning permission for panels, or is it something that you're allowed to put on? I don't think anybody has panels on my estate. It's a brand new estate. It used to be a golf course, so I don't know if I need planning permission for it. I guess I shouldn't because it's a eco-friendly thing, isn't it? I don't know. I need to find out. I don't really see the point of feeding wheat germ, really. I don't feed wheat germ. None of the... It's funny, if you ask in Japan, you ask the breeders about wheat germ, they only know wheat germ that they eat themselves. They never feed their koi wheat germ. They feed their koi Saki Hikari staple or Saki Hikari growth. or color. That's all they know. So they don't really feed a wheat germ. Um, and even with Mike Snaden, he didn't really feed wheat germ. He just fed a staple food, or um, he kept same as me. Well, I kept same as him, I should say, 21 Celsius. No, you don't need to get planning permission. Okay, so maybe Lee, if you're on Rastakoy or your part of thing, then let me know. Okay, thanks. I still have time to change it. Yeah. So you're asking Mr. Green, is it, about that? Maybe are you? If you're not part of Rastakoy, why don't you join Rastakoy? Answer the 3 questions, or send me a message on Facebook. But if you join Rastakoy, there's some pictures on there, and you can see how I put mine exactly. You don't want to get it wrong. In the building process, you want to get it right first time. And do it once and do it right. So if you can do that, that's good. Planning permission isn't usually required. Matthew would know. He's like CSI lawman himself. Okay, thank you, Lee and Matthew, for that. When my fish... Why my fish go cloudy eyes in the pond and stay at the bottom, not eating like before? From Australia now. I don't know. Hello from Australia. It's one of my next journeys. I love fishing, so I used to watch a guy called Rex Hunt. I think he was one of your Aussie rules? Aussie rules football? It's like a rugby foot. Anyhow, yeah. So I used to watch Rex Hunt fishing, and obviously as a West Indies cricketer fan, especially, I had a relationship with Australians in that way of always watching them. So fish going with cloudy eyes will tend to be a parasite unless you've treated upon with malachite formalin, because malachite formalin will get fish will get cloudy eyes from treated, but it will clear up on its own. If you haven't treated and they've got cloudy eyes and it's sat on the bottom clamped up, then you're dealing with a parasite that you need to scrape and test to see what it is. I can't sort of give you a guess of what it is, but if you don't have a way of scraping and testing for the parasite in Australia, and generally I wouldn't just say throw a chemical in there. You need to know what the parasite is you're dealing with. But generally, as an all-round sort of a treatment, it's always good to try potassium first, and that finishes in a day, and then you can probably do formalin and malachite. But I wouldn't recommend it until you get scraped and checked to see what the parasite is. Hopefully you're able to do that. At 18 Celsius, if you were feeding, would it be advisable to keep floating only? Temperatures no sinking. No sinking, as I heard in Japan, they only feed floating through the winter. Some of you guys must be talented. You could make your own solar panels. What the heck? I can't even make a sandwich properly. No, you don't need planning. Okay, so I'll have a look into that. So at 18 Celsius, once my pond is at 18 Celsius, I hardly feed. If I do feed, it's very little food. And you can feed sinking food. The thing is about sinking food, it is very heavy on the koi. And if you feed koi a lot of sinking food, you'd see them sort of sat on the bottom, because it's a hard food for them to digest. So I tend to mix my sinking food around 30% sinking to floating, so less sinking to floating. So in Japan they do use sinking food. All the breeders I've been to have sinking food, but again they sort of mix it in 30% sinking to floating type. So you don't want too much sinking food. Sinking food will get a lot of fish into the koi, a lot of food into the koi quickly, but equally you could damage the fish by overfeeding it and causing internal problems, because sinking food is a bit like, it's a heavy, if you look at a pellet, it's quite dense, and it's lighter on them if they're eating the floating food. So my advice would be mix it 30% sinking food to your floating pellet, even in winter. That's fine. Once I reach an 18 Celsius, I tend to only feed color food, really color enhancing food, and then once that finishes off, then I'll go on to sake hikari all season. I forgot what it's called. all weather or something. It's called sake curry, all season food. Yes, so chocolate for breakfast. I like that name. Solar panels are really easy to make up yourself and cheap too. It's just the batteries. I suspect you're right with that. Um, so yes, thank you guys for the idea on the solar panels. How heavy are solar panels? I don't know if you could put them on a pond roof, or if they need multi-season. Yeah, that's the one. I don't know how heavy solar panels are. The reason I'm asking, I don't know if you could put them on your koi pond roof, or if it needs to be like garage roof, house roof, in that way. Because my my pond is south facing, so it's bathed in the sun. So if I could get solar panels on the koi pond roof, or a few of them on the roof, I think that might be a winner. But I certainly would look into the solar panels for 10 grand. I'd rather drive an old car and have solar panels on a house. So. Have you ever experienced lockjaw in a koi? Yes, I've had that before, and I managed to get the koi out of it by salt bath in the koi. This was way back when, but yeah, salt bath the koi. Literally didn't measure the salt. I just used a lot of salt in the bowl and slowly massage the koi's jaw every day for about 2 weeks, and then suddenly after 2 weeks, it either could have been by coincidence it came back to normal, or it could have been because I added salt. But yeah, it came back. I know a few guys who had lockjaw and they tried it and it didn't work, so maybe it was just one of those things that I got away with it. But yeah, you can't get that, and it is annoying. um, you could try antibiotics or whatever you want to. So the arrow is about to come on. It's going to be on in 50 seconds. So I'll pull it back from me, and then when it comes on, you can hear the boom. Well, it's not a boom really, it's just a click, because I'm out in the back here. There's no one who hears anything that goes on here. It's a bit like a haunted house. Anyhow, haunted with koi. So is there any more questions? So good to hear all of you guys from like Australia, and thanks for that. Yeah, multi-season. So the lockjaw, if you're dealing with lockjaw, I would try the salt thing, and then also you could try antibiotics, some Baytril or something like that. But in my experience, sometimes it's the Mandeville. It's called the Mandeville. That, you know, they have like a bit on their jaw that laps over. If you fish and you catch trout, you would know. Oh, it's about to go off. Okay, here you go. There you go. So the grades are going up. So that's what I get. Top membrane is 300 mils, 300 with a waist of 122. Yep, so that's the RO on. Let me just turn it down a slight bit while I'm here. I don't know if you saw that, I just threw the camera up at it. It might have been too quickly for you to see what I did there. But that was just the RO coming on. Yeah, so the lockjaw, I will try that, but I think it's called a Mandeville, you know, the bone that goes there. Don't quote me on it, and maybe I've got it wrong, or maybe it's only in trout. It's called Mandeville, but I know it is called as well in tarpon fishing. That's how, mainly I'm fly fishing, so that's how I know these names. But in koi, I'm sure it'll be the same sort of thing. But yeah, with a lockjaw, it's because with a carp's mouth is designed differently, and it's like a bone on the inside in there, you know. Very light solar panels. You can mount them on your pond roof. Oh, okay. Cool. That would be good. That will save me some... well, I guess I could mount it anywhere. It doesn't have to be the pond roof, but I guess the more panels I have, the more I could save on electric in that way. And it pays for itself. I mean, you guys who fitted, how long did it take to get your money back? I guess at 40 quid a month, I'm paying a lot more than that. So... yeah, I'll probably get my money back in 4 or 5 years on electric bills. So yes, definitely something to talk to my missus about. Okay, well, it's gone past 9 o'clock and I should be indoors now. So like I said, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. There's a drum cleaning now. You might be able to hear, but the drum is cleaning. whenever the drum cleans, I think that's one less job for me to do. The machine just did it. Anyhow, so if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do. And if you can share the videos, then encourage people to look at it. There'll be some merchandise coming out. I'm going to do it on Teespring. For those of you who don't know what Teespring is, just Google Teespring and you can order directly from the YouTube channel itself, and we'll be able to do those as well. And I hope it helped you. From Jordy, I hope you guys have a good time up in the Northeast. I know you're under pressure at the moment with those whole COVID thing. But yeah, sorry I couldn't spend a much more time talking, but maybe we'll do this again. Oh, one more thing, like I said, like and subscribe. I'm planning to do a podcast with Mike Snaden via Zoom. So him and I are going to be talking, and I'll record it. And if you're interested in a podcast, could you drop me a message, let me know, because it takes a lot of effort to put it together and to edit it, and I wouldn't do it because just to do it. If you are interested in a podcast with myself and Mr. Mike Snaden talking about Japan and koi, let me know. And if you're on Rasta Koi, sign up, send me some questions you'd like me to ask Mike on the podcast. So that'll be in the next week or so. I'm going to do a podcast with him. So if you're on Rasta Koi, send me a few questions you'd like me to ask Mike Snaden, our resident Japanese koi guru. Any questions you have for him, I'll be able to feed them through on the podcast. All right, so good night, God bless, and keep safe.